This is a faulty alternator from a 1.2 litre turbo Toyota Auris on a 66 plate. That's a 2016 model. This is from a model with start-stop, so it's a 12 volt 100 amp, and that's the part number 2706000Y230. It has a single pin feedback. That's a comms line with the battery status sensor, which is fitted to the battery, as well as the ECU. The reason I'm doing this video is just to show what I found trying to replace this pulley a few months ago. Annoyingly, after I replaced the pulley, there was still a problem with the vehicle, and then eventually I traced it to a faulty alternator. So initially, I was buy cheap, buy twice. I went to the likes of Amazon, eBay, AliExpress to buy the tools to remove this. These have got a 33 tooth spline, which is similar to Volkswagen Audi Group alternator or freewheeling clutches. However, the difference I found is that this one has a 10mm hex on the shaft instead of a Torx bit or something like that. So the usual kits didn't seem to include that. So the first kit I bought, of course they always fall out, had multiple Torx bits and other hex bits, but didn't actually have a 10mm socket to fit on that shaft. So then I bought this kit from AliExpress. This was £55 delivered, and whilst it looked very impressive, all these parts, the first time I went to use it, the tool itself cracked. That's the shorter piece, and the longer one, that also cracked. These were both used on the vehicle. They weren't with an impact gun, they were just use a breaker bar and then use a spanner to counter hold. So for example, you would fit that and fit that. The other problem I found, however, is depending on the quality of these splines, you can see there was quite a chamfer on that piece, and because of the dimensions of this tool, when that sits in there, there's not actually much of the spline left for this to engage on. So one problem you can have, which I found when I first tried using this, is that this outer holder can slip out and jump. And it can jump across the teeth and round them out. So what I should have done, instead of buying it from AliExpress, I found this laser toolkit. Now I have to admit, in the past, sometimes I've had hit and miss results with laser tools. However, I will accept this one. Had a much better fit. You can also see it sits much deeper down on the splines, and then the counter hold tool slides in and locks in nicely. It still has a chamfer on the end, but if I compare it to one of the ones from the AliExpress kit, just pop them together, you can see this one from the AliExpress kit has a much greater chamfer, which will make it harder when undoing that. The other point to note is that the depth of this is much less. So again, I've got the AliExpress part in the right, the broken one, and you can see that's a good 1.5 mm, maybe almost even 2mm shallower on the laser tool compared to the AliExpress toolkit. These are a left-hand thread, so it always confuses me which way it should be turned. But with the laser kit, I was able to undo it and change it straight away. There are a few other marks on this from where I've removed the alternator today. But I just wanted to share my findings. This laser kit, 6750. It's for £24 delivered from Amazon. It was well worth it compared to £13 or £14 for that kit, and then another £55 for this kit. So yeah, buy cheap, buy twice. I could have bought this nearly 3 times for the price I've paid for these inferior tools.